ready. Recognize the city of champs. Boston, baby, we do what you can't. Locked on number 18, Tatum and Brown, J-team. Step back, we gon' wet that and slay teams. Of course the Celtics, who else could it be? Screaming like KG with the Larry O.B. Karalis above average, assessing the team status. Best daily pod, no cap, salary matching. Clutch like Bird the DJ, keep John on replay. Prime time, dapping up the truth on the sideline. Raining J's, how it started, raising banners, how we finished. Locked on Celtics pod, home of the winners. B.
Hey there, welcome back to the Locked On Celtics podcast. Thank you for making this show your first listen every day and part of your daily routine. We're here for you Monday through Friday and maybe a few extra days as we sail through the playoffs. Boston Celtics and Brooklyn Nets. You know, that talk about the Cleveland Cavaliers having a shot, they sort of did. We'll talk about that coming up here. In fact, let's just bring Tom Westerholm in. We'll bring Tom Westerholm in for a special postgame appearance after the Brooklyn Nets beat the Cleveland Cavaliers 115-108. Not as easy, Tom, as it seemed like it might be there.
That's interesting that you think that, because I thought it was easier than the final score suggested. So, I don't know, man. I watched that game, and I never really thought that the Cavaliers had any chance to win.
I agree with that.
Yes.
I agree with that.
Yes. I'll finish my take real quick. I think that the fact that the Nets went up by 20, right? Yep. And from that point on, they went up by 20. I think it was at the end of the first quarter. They were up 40-20. I think the biggest lead was like 22 or something like that. Yeah. From that point on, the Nets had Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving to handle anything that needed to happen. And the Cavaliers just did not have, I felt like, the horses to kind of, to stem the tide at any point. Like, they could make little runs. They could do, what they needed to do. But, they just didn't have Kevin Durant or Kyrie Irving. And, I don't know, that ended up kind of, I think, being the difference.
Yeah, for sure. But also, I will say that the fact that they couldn't put the Cavaliers away necessarily, and I feel like the Brooklyn Nets would have wanted to do it before KD and Kyrie played 42 minutes. Sure. I understand this concept of, they're just kind of messing around, whatever. But why would you do that and play 42 minutes? I know you got a few days off coming up, but you still, why not just blow them out? You're up 20 and you have that capability. Just go up 30, go up 40 in the third quarter and just really just hammer it home. Be like, we're so much better than you that you got nothing for us. But the Cavaliers, and look, the Cavs aren't terrible, but they're just, this version of them is not great. And when you don't get great performance from Caris LeVert, and when you don't get great performance from Kevin Love, Kevin was fine, but not what they needed, or Lauri Markkanen, then you're just not that great a team. And when you're facing the Brooklyn Nets, then you're gonna get smoked. Except they didn't get smoked, and I just can't let that. I can't get that out of my head, because the reason why they didn't get smoked is they took advantage of Brooklyn's flaws. Right. And it's not just that Brooklyn relaxed. This was a play-in game, and they want to rest guys. They wanted to win this game by 40. They just didn't and couldn't. And I know this line of thinking is fraught with, potential pitfalls, but if it was the Celtics in that situation against that exact Brooklyn performance, it would have been a much, much different story. I say that with the full knowledge that maybe Kevin Durant held back a little bit. And the reason he had 11 assists was because he was like, you know what? I'm going to get these guys going. I want to get Bruce Brown going heading into the playoffs. I want to get Nick Claxton going heading to the playoffs. And that's all fine. But still, is it worth sacrificing the minutes? I don't know. I just feel like I saw nothing in this game to make me go, oh, maybe I should be afraid of this team. Nothing.
Okay, so again, I think that's a really interesting point because I have this so the thing that makes the Nets so interesting to me is the contradiction between the fact that they are fundamentally flawed and also fundamentally great at the same time, right? And I don't know what the last precedent for a team like that was. There've definitely been teams like that in the past, but they're fundamentally flawed in that their defense is mid, right? Like it's just not a great defense. They've got holes all over the place that teams can exploit. The Cavaliers didn't have the pieces to exploit it to the extent that the Celtics will, because the Cavaliers, have Okoro and Chetty Osman and whoever else at the wing, Karis LeVert, who was terrible tonight. They have these guys at the wing that just are not Jaylen Brown and Jayson Tatum. Right. I tweeted, if the Celtics wings go, 1 for 12 or whatever it was at that point in the game, they're probably screwed. Then it's probably over. But the other thing about the Nets is that they are also fundamentally flawed, but they're also fundamentally great because they have this all-time player, top 10, top 15 all-time player, Kevin Durant. I mean, he's up there. And, there's a non-zero chance that even if the Celtics win this series, that they're facing the best player they are going to face in the first round against their number 7 seed opponent. It's not out of the question. So I don't know. That's what makes the Nets so fascinating to me, is that there is this absolute contradiction between their, between the peaks that they can hit offensively, but then also just the very real flaws that have nothing to do with Kevin Durant. I was going to say they have nothing to do with their stars, but the defense absolutely has to do with Kyrie Irving.
Oh yeah, for sure.
If you go back and watch, which I assume you have, if you go back and watch those early, the last Nets game that the Celtics played, it is hilarious how much the Celtics targeted Kyrie. It was truly every single possession was in some way let's kick the crap out of that guy.
Yep. And you know what? You can do it. You can do it. Karis LeVert did it down the stretch. Other players did it down the stretch. You can do it against Kyrie Irving, and this is part of my whole thing. Kevin Durant, I think we're giving Kevin Durant so much respect that we're forgetting about a lot of things. Or not we, but I think in general.
You can say you can do it.
No, I'm saying it goes beyond what you're saying. It goes the general. I don't want to be the media, but I think the national perspective of this is, they've got Durant and that's all you need, but it's not all you need. It's not, because what happened against the Cavaliers when Kevin Durant sat down, right?
Yep.
That all of a sudden the Cavaliers went on a massive run, and once you go on a run and you get some confidence. That team, the Cavs team, sucked in the first half. They shot 30-something%. Once they were able to get on a run, when Kevin Durant sat, they got their confidence. They shot much better in the second half. They scored 65 points in the second half. The Brooklyn Nets gave up 65 points to the Cavaliers in a half. What's Boston going to do? Then they were trying to stop the Cavaliers. They wanted to stop the Cavaliers, and they gave up 65 points in a half. I think that the potential for the Celtics to score 65 points in every half of this series is there. And what I saw from Brooklyn defensively in this game especially is, Kevin Durant came and sold out for some great block shots, but he sold out because he could sell out against these Cavs. You can't sell out like that against the Celtics. No. And if you do, they're going to find the guy that you sold out from, and that guy's going to get a dunk, or he's going to kick it out to the shooters, and it's going to be swing, 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 and either another drive or a three-pointer. And I don't think they're going to shoot as poorly on threes as the Cavaliers did, especially in the first half. So,
especially because it's not a one-game playoff.
Right. So I think the Celtics have this. I go back to just the perception of the Brooklyn Nets is one thing. I understand the national perception of whoa, these Brooklyn Nets, they got KD, and that's going to make him dangerous. Okay, but On the other side of the floor is a team that's been trucking the competition for months, has had the number one offense in the league for months, the number one defense in the league for the year. Like, this is not what they've been doing. You know, they've been beating up, or not even beating up, they've been beating some mediocre teams, or as you might say, mid. I'm still trying to I, as an old guy with big gray patches in my beard, I'm still trying to figure out how to casually slide that into conversation. But the point here is that the Celtics are a team that should get some level of respect that they're kind of not getting in all of this. Whoa, watch out for the Brooklyn Nets thing. I'm going to let you respond to that when we come back. But first, I want to talk to you about Shady Rays' awesome sunglasses that give you the features of these $100 sunglasses for a fraction of the price. So you get the polarized lenses, the well-constructed durable frames, premium high-end finishes, and what you don't get with the other people that you do get with Shady Rays is an insane protection program. Better protection than anything you're going to find with the Brooklyn Nets. Shady Rays includes lost and broken protection for every pair. They will send you a brand new pair if you lose them, no matter what. Come up with the stupidest possible reason, and they will still give you another pair. Give them a try, and if you don't love them, you'll pay nothing. It's as simple as that. Plus, this is great. 10 meals are donated to fight hunger in America when you shop with Shady Rays. And exclusively for our listeners, head to shadyrays.com. Use the promo code LOCKEDON. You're going to get 50% off 2 or more pairs of polarized sunglasses. That's code LOCKEDON for the absolute best deal of the season. We're heading into beach season. We're heading into pool season. Stock up on those sunglasses that you get your different looks and get this great deal if you break or lose them. So head on over, use the code LOCKEDON for 50% off 2 or more pairs of Shady Rays sunglasses backed by over 150,000 verified 5-star reviews. Hey, thanks for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. Make Locked On NBA your second listen. Just finished. I'm recording this after I recorded Locked On NBA with Jake Madison. So you want more breakdown of Celtics and Nets? I got it over there. Plus, breakdown of this insane Clippers Timberwolves game. That was a fun one to watch. We're talking about that, plus the other play-in games. So make sure you're subscribed to Locked On NBA wherever you get your podcasts. It's also on YouTube as well. All right, let's get back to this conversation. By the way, this schedule that was released actually, I think, favors Brooklyn a little bit. Let's go over the schedule real quick. It's Sunday afternoon in Boston, then Wednesday at 7 p.m. in Boston. So 2 days off. Then Saturday in Brooklyn.
Crazy.
Monday in Brooklyn. Wednesday in Boston if necessary. Friday in Brooklyn if necessary. Sunday. So you play Sunday, you get 2 days off, and then you get another 2 days off before playing in Brooklyn, because you got to have that big travel day for what's at worst if you want to take a slow train.
I was going to say those 3.5 hours on the train aren't going to go by quick.
So this, and the reason why this does help Brooklyn is because you're going to have to play. They're going to have to play Durant and Irving.
That's true.
Minutes. They're going to have to play those guys 45 to 48 minutes. And if you look, especially with Kyrie, because he missed so much time. Like, yeah, his legs are fresher in a way, but also he got thrown into the fire. His back-to-back, which there are no more back-to-backs, the second night he's been terrible. The one night's rest he's been the two night rest he's been great. And so this allows them to keep up they're going to have to play KD and Kyrie so much that getting these 2 days off between games 1 and 2 and 2 and 3 are going to be huge for their recovery, and that's going to keep them. That might make these games a lot tighter than I was expecting. So that, I don't know, that benefits them.
On the other hand, what it does do is if the Nets do steal a game or two, it does obviously extend things for Robert Williams, right? So
that's also a good point.
You look at so you look at, I believe it's the Monday. Let's see here. Yeah. So if you look at like the Saturday, I believe would be 3 days or 3 weeks out, right? And then the next week would be 4 weeks out, at which point, you're looking at if it does go to a game 6, there's a decent chance that you've got Robert Williams for a game 6. When I was saying, I think on the last pod that we'd be probably looking at a game 7 before Robert Williams would come back. So,
right.
Yeah, I mean, cuts both ways.
Sure. Yeah, no, that's a great point because, yeah, you'll get you have the potential. And as I said, I expect them to be back before the 4 weeks.
You do.
So this definitely could help. This definitely helps prolong things. So that you're right. And it was kind of funny. Bruce Brown after the game was like, "Oh yeah, they don't have Robert Williams. We can attack that. So that's going to be huge for us." KD came out and basically like gave the kid a spanking. It was like, no, we don't say that stuff over here. Like we respect our opponents. That was kind of interesting.
It is interesting how KD has a lot of respect for the Celtics. He's a lot of respect for Tatum. A lot of it seems like he's got a lot of respect for Jaylen, a lot of respect for Rob. Like you can kind of tell that he kind of feels a certain type of way about this Celtics team.
And Ime was part of Team USA, so he has a relationship there as well. So
yeah, absolutely. But that was those comments were very funny, especially if you look at I was looking up the numbers for Daniel Theis and Al Horford on the floor together, and when those guys are on the floor, it's only been like 230 some odd possessions or something like that. But they are 100th percentile in defensive rating and 100th percentile in offensive rating. They are like beating teams by something like 30 points per 100 possessions with
right.
So pretty good too. So KD, not an advanced stats guy, but maybe he is. Maybe, maybe he's got a burner account on cleaning the glass. You never know.
Yeah, maybe. It's
known burner account guy.
Very known burner account guy. So that's interesting there. But I just one thing I wrote on Boston Sports Journal. Well, let me see if you agree with me. The first point that I made on the post game assessment here is that Brooklyn has no adjustments. They are literally all they have is what they've shown us. They're either going to beat the Celtics because Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving are awesome,
right,
or they're not going to beat the Celtics because they weren't good enough. And all the other stuff, there's no adjustment to make. They'll switch a lot on defense and then they'll throw in some zone. And if you can do what you do if you can actually recognize the zone quickly and beat the zone and make it so they can't play that, then you have nothing but switching and picking on matchups and just go nuts. So when you're going into a playoff series, adjustments are a big thing. The Celtics can make adjustments. You can change up personnel. You go big, go small, whatever. They can change a lot. Brooklyn can change basically like nothing. I think that right there is my number one reason why I think the Celtics should be heavily not like we're going to look at a sweep here, but I do think this can be like a 5 or 6 game series.
I think that's very reasonable. I keep getting tripped up, like you said, like the national media, because I do keep getting tripped up on the fact that it is Kevin Durant, and you say like the only way that the Nets can win this series is if Kevin Durant, goes crazy, and I agree. I'm not ready to put that out of the question, right? And like I don't think you are either. I mean, like you said,
right.
Like Kevin Durant is great. So that said, I do think that look, like you said, the Celtics have a million adjustments they can make. They've shown over the course of the season that they are they're multifaceted. They have a million different ways they can kill you in ways that the Nets just simply can't. I thought it was very strange to see everybody like, oh man, I feel so sorry for the 2 seed. I feel so sorry for the 2 seed. That was seemed to be the prevailing sentiment on Twitter. And it's like, well, okay, but the 2 seed here isn't a team like whose entire offense is based on, a 22 or whatever year old point guard. Like the Celtics team is different. They are, to use a common parlance, they're literally built different, right? They are they can They can defend in ways that the Cavaliers can't. They can score in ways the Cavaliers can't. They can get contributions from a million different sources in ways the Cavaliers can't, even without Robert Williams. If the Celtics had Robert Williams, I would be saying Celtics in 5. Even with Kevin Durant. As it is, it's just like, even without Rob, this team, you just kind of go up and down the lineup. They're so much deeper. And they still have star power at the top, right? How as great as Kevin Durant is, Jayson Tatum has been just about as good, if not as good this season in the minutes he's played. He's been just as good. He deserves to be in the top 5 of, MVP discussion. And Durant, when he's healthy, does too, obviously. But when those two kind of balance each other out, from there down, it pretty heavily favors the Celtics. So, I think, I certainly expect, I think the Celtics are going to win this series. The only thing that trips me up is just, hey, what if Kevin Durant goes nuts for 4 games out of 7? I can't rule that out, but I do think that the Celtics are just objectively a better team.
Right. But that's the thing, is Kevin Durant can go nuts for 4 games, but there's almost nothing stopping Jayson Tatum from matching that.
Yeah.
They're really
importantly, if there is something stopping Jayson Tatum from doing it, there's nothing stopping Jaylen Brown from doing it.
Right. Exactly. And so this is the whole thing with the Celtics, and you can make this argument for both sides. If Kevin Durant's going crazy, then maybe you have to double him, but who you double off of when you're facing Brooklyn is so much more palatable than who you're doubling off of when you're playing the Celtics, because they have much more reliable players. Are you going to double off of Al Horford?
Right.
Okay. Yep. Sure. Are you going to double off of Daniel Theis? Okay. Daniel Theis seems to be your best option there, but it's not like he can't do nothing. He can get to that elbow jumper and hit that reliably. You can put him in, get him in that pick and roll, little short roll, get it to him. Boom. He can make plays there. He's not awesome, but he's capable, much more capable than a lot of what the Brooklyn Nets can do. It's just the rest of the options. And that Brooklyn defense, if they keep Tatum in check, they're going to have to sell out so hard to do that.
Yes.
They can craft a defense that does take Tatum out. They can do that. But what they need to do that is just going to have Jaylen Brown stretching it out. Oh, look at all of this. It's like you've been sleeping in a twin bed for the whole year, and then you get into a king size bed. Jaylen's going to be like, oh, look at this, is amazing how comfortable I can get. That's what's going to be left over. Meanwhile, on the other side, the Celtics can do things to make Kevin Durant's life a little bit more difficult, and you can live with the results, and you don't have to help off of Kyrie necessarily to do it. You can do the other stuff that you need to do. And hey, if KD goes off for 50, honestly, if KD goes off for 50, okay, I can live with that, because if you can keep Kyrie somewhat in check, then you're still you're still capable of scoring more than the Brooklyn Nets.
Yeah. Well, and look, the Celtics, I think this is actually one of the most important reasons why I think the Celtics are going to win this series. The Celtics, most of the time, unless Peyton Pritchard is in, and even then, the Celtics are going to have 5 guys who can do a lot of ththings on both sides of the court.
Yes.
And you go down that Nets lineup, right? And it's Kyrie is otherworldly offensively, and just a dumpster fire on the defensive end. Seth Curry, really good shooter, can't play defense. Nick Claxton can defend the rim, but he can't really do that much offensively. There are just you go up and down that lineup, there are a lot of sort of one-way guys that they're trying to cobble together into this coherent group. Whereas the Celtics are coherent in part because everybody can kind of do everything. And that matters a whole lot, I think, in the playoffs. When I was rewatching the game from March 6th, there was one play that was really funny. Tatum had Kyrie on him, and he was running a pick and roll with a big man. And I was like, why is the big man coming up to set a pick? And I was like, oh, it's because Andre Drummond is the guy who's going to switch onto him if Kyrie drops off him. And of course, Tatum just buries an open three in Drummond's face. And it's like, well, yeah, like that's what's going to happen if you have Kyrie and Andre Drummond trying to defend the pick and roll together. The Celtics are going to have that option. Like Kyrie and Drummond play together a lot. There's going to be a lot of times when they can just run whoever Kyrie is guarding through a pick and roll with whoever Drummond is guarding and work with whatever mismatch then comes from that. And then on the other end, they've got 5 guys who can play defense. And the one guy who can't really is Pritchard, who tries really hard, and he's their best like floor spacer. They are a much more complete basketball team that has just shown it for the whole season. So anyway, I think that like the Celtics' ability to do things on both ends is going to crop up quite a bit this series.
That's yes. Yes, it is. All right, well, we'll wrap it up. We'll wrap it up in just a moment here. First, I got to tell you about Athletic Greens AG1. It's a product that I use literally every day. I started taking AG1 because I wanted to kind of get back to my healthy lifestyle, which during the basketball season can be tough, especially as a beat writer. You're always on the go. You're always in the car. So when you wake up in the morning, getting this 1 scoop of this delicious AG1 to get you those 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source, superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens. Gets it all into my body. I know that my day is very complete nutritionally because it's going to supplement my regular eating on a daily basis. So seriously, it's 1 scoop in the morning. You wake up, you get the little bottle that they give you, 8 ounces of water, boom, tastes great. And you're all set for the day. Now you know that if it's a day where maybe you can't have that salad, you know you've gotten a lot of this stuff. It's lifestyle friendly, whether you eat keto, paleo, vegan, dairy-free, or gluten-free, and it contains less than 1 gram of sugar, no GMOs, no chemicals, none of that stuff. So however you live, you can still take this. Athletic Greens was created when the founder experienced a ton of gut health issues and ended up on a complicated supplement routine to recover. It cost him $100 a day. This costs you $3 a day. So you're investing in your health, and it's cheaper than your cold brew habit. Right now, it's time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition. It's just 1 scoop in a cup of water every day. That's it. No need for a million different pills or supplements to look out for your health. And to make it easy, Athletic Greens is giving you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/NBA network. Again, that's athleticgreens.com/NBA network to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. Today's show also brought to you by Built Bar. This can also help you out. I take one with me to the gym every day after I'm done with my cardio, after I'm done lifting. I know I can have one of these Built Bars. They taste great. It's like a treat. Congratulations to me. Pat myself in the back. You get a piece of chocolate, but it's a Built Bar, and it's 130 calories, only 4 grams of sugar, 4 net carbs, and 17 grams of protein. So I'm feeding my body with the protein that it wants to build the muscles without blowing out my cardio. Go to built.com. Use the promo code LOCK15. You can use it every single time you're at built.com, and you know that that's going to work, so you can stock up on whatever you're trying to get. You can sample a few different things if you're not sure what you want. There's tons of great flavors. There's tons of different varieties. There's also other products. So whatever you want to get, it's at built.com. Use the promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off every single time. Tom, I'm going to say a very 80s/90s thing right now about what I wish would happen, but can't. I want the Celtics to let the Brooklyn Nets run a pick and roll with Bruce Brown in the first play of the game. Let him roll to the basket, and I want Al Horford to just truck him and just put him on the ground and be like, "You still want to drive on us?" And then give him his 2 free throws. And
sounds like Al Horford, yeah.
Like Al, I don't think is the type of person to do that. And if you did that in today's NBA, it'd be a flagrant foul. But boy, back when I was growing up, this is a very back in my day kind of feeling. That comment that he made, that would have been the first thing. They'd be like, "Oh boy, and they would have told him too. Expect it. We're not running a pick and roll with you because the first time you go into that lane, you're going to be on your ass.
It's funny because like Kevin Durant sort of recognized that the 2022 version of that is possible, right? Where it's like Al Horford's not going to put you on your ass.
No,
Al Horford, and Daniel Theis might just play out of their minds for 3 consecutive games, and then at the end of it, be like, looks like old Bruce Brown was wrong, and whatever phrase they want to use, and that's not out of the question at all. So, I mean, I think like Katie's very funny. I love him. I love his press conferences, even though he hates the media. I just love him. He makes me chuckle, and him just kind of like hearing Bruce Brown do that and being like, why?
The best part is that he came in.
It was very
he came
funny.
in. He was like, what did Bruce Brown say? Like he was like, because he was scrolling Twitter.
Yes, of course he was.
He's like, wait, whoa. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I love Kevin Durant. I apologize for nothing. He's awesome.
No, look, let me tell you, like I do have I always had a tremendous amount of respect for him. But what he did in this press conference is just adds a little bit to it because there's no need to disrespect. He talks a lot because that's a motivational thing and he believes in himself and he's one of the greatest of all time. But there's never any disrespect. Right. Like he's talking as part of he just likes to talk. But he's not trying unless you're disrespecting him, in which case then if you want to take the gloves off, you can take the gloves off.
Yeah, right.
But
Grant Williams tried to take the gloves off on March 6th, but
right. But yeah, so anyway, let's just look at this and just kind of figure out how this is going to go. Like, I really do think, as I've said, first of all, I think Rob's coming back, and I think I wouldn't be surprised if Rob came back. What was the date again that he had his surgery?
It was a Thursday.
It was the 7th.
That a Thursday?
No, it was the 31st. The 7th was a week. This Thursday,
I believe it was April 7th. Yes, or maybe the 31st.
No, it was the 31st.
It was the 31st, right?
It was the 31st. So
the 7th was 1 week out. That's right.
Yep. Yeah. So the 14th is 2 weeks out
tomorrow,
and then and then the 21st is 3 weeks out. So missed the 2 games at home. I wouldn't be surprised if he either came back in game 4 or 5. So I think what you get is Boston wins 2 games at home. Brooklyn wins game 3. Rob comes back for game 4. And the Celtics take it in 5.
I think that's reasonable. If we're doing predictions, I will give the Nets one more game, just the Kevin Durant factor. And I'll say Celtics in 6, but I'm trying to think which one I would give them. I think what I would say is I think that here's what I think happens. I think the Celtics split at home and they win. And I'll give them, but then I think they win both the Brooklyn games, and then maybe they drop one, and then Rob comes back. So that'll be my prediction. I think they it's a little unorthodox, but I think they split at home, and then they kind of take care of business. They buckle down, and they've kind of got the Nets figured out because, like you said. Games 3 and 4, Nets might not have that many adjustments. Maybe Kevin Durant goes crazy for one game, and there's not that any adjustments you can make. But Rob Williams is back; they take care of business in Game 6.
Okay, that's fair. I don't think this is going to go 7.
No, I don't either.
I just think that the flaws are too big. I think Kyrie is too much of defensively they're terrible. Kyrie is. Even worse. And I don't know. I look at this game and I posted the first half shot chart for the Cavaliers. There's 5 missed corner threes in the first half that if I'm not saying you're going to hit all of them, but you hit a few of those and this is a different game. Like yes. Brooklyn could have lost this game. they easily could have lost this game. And maybe KD would have stepped up earlier and we could debate all of that stuff. But
yeah,
this wasn't like the gimme. They went up and then they maybe let go a little bit, and maybe they won't let go against the Celtics in a series. But I can't bring myself. I try to be as realistic as possible. I really, if I really thought the Celtics were in danger, I would say so. I don't think that they are, unless they decide to get away from what they were doing. I will add this. We'll wrap it up with this caveat. All of this is predicated on the Celtics playing this style of basketball that they've been playing, right? If they stop moving the ball, if it just becomes ISO and it's just a bunch of ISO and jump shots, and Claxton does defend the rim and they allow that to be a problem, then that's a different story. That to me is a different story. But if they do that, that is on the Celtics. And it's not because Brooklyn did anything. If the Celtics come out in game 1 and they fire a bunch of long twos and they stop getting to the rim and Tatum is going back to old turnaround fadeaway jumpers from the elbows and missing, that I refuse to believe going into this that's a schematic Brooklyn Nets defensive thing that forces him out into that area. If the Celtics don't play the style of offense that they've played to get to this high level, it's because they have chosen not to do it. Now, it's possible that they won't do it. It's possible that they'll revert to some bad habits. It's possible that Ime Udoka will freeze in the playoffs. There's plenty of time this week to talk about what Ime might do. But I don't think the Celtics need to go crazy. I think this is a very simple thing. Play the way you're going to play. If the Celtics play just normal Celtics basketball, then they'll win this in 5.
I agree with that. I think, there was a stat floating around, and I'm going to loosely quote it because I can't remember it very well, but there was it was something. It was basically comparing teams that have had a similar turnaround to the Celtics and how they did in the postseason, and it wasn't very good, right? Like it was teams that did not go particularly far when they had a turnaround the way the Celtics did. Now, what I will say about that stat is that Ime Udoka is the can man, right? Like we talked about on the last pod. And I think that, Udoka has shown all season that he'll call out guys who need to be called out. I don't see any reason that would change in the playoffs. Like he spent 82 games building these guys respect and kind of showing them that his way works. And let's say Jayson Tatum, for some reason, goes away from things in game 1. I think Ime Udoka would call him out, and then he's got 2 days to call him out for 2 whole days in between games 1 and 2, and game 2, I would very much expect things to be fixed. And then you just kind of go down the list. Udoka has said in press conferences recently, like, we have no reason to go away from these things that are working for us, so we're not going to do that. And I think the Celtics have all bought in. Like they all agree. They've all seen the results. They've all seen what happens when they don't buy in. I have a very hard time seeing this team not buy in. So, look, a 5-game series would not stun me. I'm saying 6, pretty much purely out of respect for Kevin Durant. But I think that's a I have a hard time imagining the Celtics just kind of letting go of the rope when they've gotten to this point, and they've just so clearly shown that when they play this way, they are such a superior product to previously.
Well, we'll see. I think we'll learn a little bit more, and as the Celtics start having practices, in the curtains open, maybe we'll see Rob out there. And then at some point in the next couple of days, we're going to have to start seeing some actual injury reports. So we'll start to get a better sense of when Rob might actually come back. So we'll talk to people at practice. 3 days this week, and then we'll see what happens on Sunday. Tom, once again, appreciate you hopping on. Staying up late.
Yeah, man. That's this was a late one for me.
Yeah, this is like we're wrapping this up at about 2 a.m. This is my normal recording time. Like I'm just like chilling. I'm ready to just have dinner.
I try to make you into a normal person. We usually record, at a much more normal time when you have me on. But You dragged me down to hell this night. So well done.
That's right. All right, Tom. Thanks a lot, buddy.
Appreciate it.
And thanks to all of you for listening. Big week coming up. This is the Wednesday show. So Thursday will be Chad Finn of the Boston Globe and Boston.com. It's Boston.com week over here. And then on Friday, we'll, I think, get the Brooklyn Nets, the Locked On Nets guys, and I will yell at them about their flawed defense for a while. And we'll do a crossover episode. So make sure you're subscribed wherever you get your podcasts. And if you are a subscriber on YouTube, shows on YouTube, make sure, thanks. We're flying. We're subscribers are like getting close to 5,200 now. So this thing is flying. Really appreciate that. And so if you are a subscriber there or anywhere, please share the podcast. Tell your friends, tell everybody that they should be listening to the Locked On Celtics podcast right here on the Locked On Podcast Network.